we're talking about the open source stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
the things we can see, reading the Bible, reading ancient text that's available to the public.
Yeah.
There is still a power structure that exists across different religions around them. In the case of, say, Christianity and more specifically the Catholic Church, obviously you have the Vatican. And, you know, I used to, for 6 months of my life, I lived like a quarter mile from the Vatican.
Oh, wow.
And at the time, you know, it's like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Didn't have any appreciation for thinking about, like, holy fuck, there's some secrets of the universe potentially in there.
Yeah.
Have you ever wondered how a tiny city-state like Vatican City, a mere 0.27 square kilometers, could hold vast, almost unfathomable wealth? With over 1.3 billion members worldwide, the Catholic Church stands as one of the richest religious institutions on the planet. Yet it constantly claims it's strapped for cash, in desperate need of your donations. The Vatican might be the smallest sovereign nation in the world, but its finances are colossal. Some estimates put the Catholic Church's total wealth at upwards of $2 trillion. Let that sink in, $2 trillion. Yet publicly, church officials often insist they're barely getting by. You'll see statements claiming they've only made a modest surplus, maybe a few $1 million in certain years. Somehow that never matches the suspicion that with over 1 billion followers and centuries of accumulated riches, they're hardly running on fumes. Chapter 1. A brief history of the Vatican's wealth accumulation. Centuries ago, the Pope wasn't just the head of the Catholic Church, he was essentially a king. The Vatican controlled the Papal States, thousands of square miles across Italy. Taxes from these lands funded lavish courts, ornate palaces, and an opulent lifestyle for the Pope and his cardinals. But taxes alone weren't enough to keep up with their ever-increasing taste for luxury. So around the 6th century, church leaders looked for new ways to pull in revenue. That's when someone had a stroke of genius. Instead of selling limited goods like crops, why not sell something intangible and infinitely renewable indulgences? It became a cash cow that ran for over 1,000 years, bringing in an endless stream of income while playing on fear, guilt, and the promise of salvation. Over time, external events like the French Revolution and Napoleon's conquests started chipping away at the Vatican's finances. Powerful European leaders began taxing the church and demanding tributes. Eventually, Italy invaded and dismantled most of the Papal States. Overnight, thousands of Vatican-controlled square miles shrank to a mere handful of city blocks we now call Vatican City. Stripped of vast land holdings, the Vatican pivoted to private enterprise. It bought property in Rome and beyond, though real estate crashes sometimes wiped out gains. It also appealed directly to believers for Peter's Pence, a donation campaign that kept the institution afloat. When wars swept through Europe, the church didn't exactly stay on the sidelines. In the early 20th century, with 2 world wars looming, the Vatican learned to play the political and financial chess game better than ever. Chapter 2. The Vatican Bank, God's Private Vault, in World War II. By then, the Vatican had created its own bank, the Institute for the Works of Religion, or IOR, often just called the Vatican Bank. It's not your average local branch. This setup allowed the Vatican to keep money flowing in from all sides, sometimes from highly questionable sources. During World War II, Germany automatically deducted a chunk of Catholic workers' wages for the church. That money ended up in the Vatican Bank, no questions asked. Wealthy Italians and even organized crime figures saw the Vatican Bank as a great place to stash or launder cash with virtually zero oversight. Over time, allegations piled up. The bank was linked to dirty money from war profiteering, questionable insurance payouts, and mafia dealings. Authorities trying to investigate would run headlong into the Vatican's diplomatic immunity and private jurisdiction. In the late 20th century, another massive scandal erupted. Widespread reports of priestly abuse. Victims came forward, lawsuits were filed, and the Catholic Church ended up paying out billions, yes, billions in settlements across the globe. For many organizations, that kind of financial blow might be devastating. Yet the Vatican still stands, claiming they need more donations to cover operational costs. In reality, the Church's wealth was so extensive that these settlements, while enormous, didn't bring them to their knees. By 2013, amid growing scandals, the Vatican chose a new Pope Francis who promised major reforms. He projected a down-to-earth image, championed the poor, and called for financial transparency. For a while, that fresh persona helped the Vatican regain trust. Donations began to steady, public scrutiny ebbed. The centuries-old institution had adapted once again, reminding the world how cleverly it can reinvent itself and stay on top. Chapter 3. Who really controls the Vatican's billions? Here's the big question. If the Vatican is flush with wealth, who exactly is in charge of this mountain of money, and what are they doing with it? Number 1. The Pope is the sole shareholder of the Vatican Bank. He wields significant control. but he's guided by a network of cardinals, advisors, and influential committees. Number 2, the Curia, Vatican bureaucracy. This is the administrative apparatus that manages day-to-day operations, including finances, investments, and donations. Number 3, global archdioceses. The Church's worldwide network includes local dioceses that own properties, stocks, and businesses. Some, like the New York Archdiocese, are rumored to be among the biggest landowners in cities like Manhattan. With so many layers of secrecy, pinpointing a single puppet master is tricky. The Catholic Church's fortune is entangled in centuries of land deals, corporate investments, and hush-hush banking. And because it's a sovereign state, the Vatican controls its own disclosures, publishing only as much financial data as it deems necessary. Religion, particularly the Catholic Church, has shown that you can amass incredible riches by appealing to something deeply human, faith. The promise of salvation, moral authority, and a vast global following have allowed the Vatican to build and protect its billions like no other institution in history. So, what are they doing with it? Some of it funds charitable work and church missions, sure, but a significant portion goes into maintaining the Vatican's vast operations, covering administrative costs, legal battles, and strategic investments. The truth is, we may never know the full story, but one thing's for certain: whenever the Vatican claims it's broken, check the fine print. Because behind those ancient walls and gilded halls, there's an empire of wealth run by a complex power structure, centuries in the making. Money and faith, two of the most powerful forces on earth, have converged in the world's smallest nation to create a financial empire beyond most people's wildest imagination. The Vatican's billions aren't just about dollars and cents. They're about influence, survival, and a reputation that has managed to endure for nearly 2,000 years. Wherever the Church's investments may lie, and whoever sits at the helm, one thing remains clear. The Vatican is, in many ways, the ultimate business that transcends time, wars, and revolutions. And the next time you drop a few coins into that donation plate, remember, this is one empire that always finds a way to keep its coffers full. What do you think? Comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe for more of these kinds of videos. Thanks for watching.